Hello and welcome to Marriott MBA Today. I'm your host, Ben Chilliard, and I'm joined today by Devin, Phillabaum, and Shaun, Frenza, two first-year MBA students with experience in the U.S. Marine Corps and U.S. Army. Thanks for joining us, Devin and Shaun. So first of all, I just wanted to thank you guys for your service to our country. Now, Devin, you had previously spent 11 years in the U.S. Marine Corps. Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience?
Sure. So I entered the Marine Corps back in 2003 after completing my undergraduate studies at the United States Naval Academy. In the first year in the Marine Corps as an officer, you spend in training, learning how to become an officer, and then you gain training in a specialty area. I happen to specialize in signals intelligence. After that training, you then proceed out to your first assignment. And I did my first assignment based out of Southern California at a base called Camp Pendleton. And from there, from the onset as an officer, you are given leadership responsibility. So throughout my 11 years, I led units ranging in size from about 10 Marines all the way up to a company-sized unit of 150 Marines. Also, during my Marine Corps experience, I had a lot of opportunity to travel and work in different countries. A couple of those experiences included combat deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. And I'll just quickly summarize those deployments for you because I think they're interesting in the fact that each deployment was very different because of the types of missions and units that I was supporting. The first deployment experience was part of a Marine Expeditionary Unit. During that deployment, we traveled to and worked in 9 different countries, but one of the countries was Iraq. We spent 3 months there performing various counterinsurgency type operations within Iraq. The second deployment to Iraq, I was part of an advisor team in which I was actually embedded into an Iraqi Army battalion, and where we were training this unit to take over the security operations in the area of Iraq I was in Ramadi, the city of Ramadi. And then my first deployment to Afghanistan, I was based out of the National Security Agency, had the opportunity to lead 32 analysts, a team of 32 analysts that was supporting a special operations task force that was tasked with hunting terrorist leaders in the region. And then my final deployment to Afghanistan was spent as part of a small team of engineers that deployed to install specialized systems to collect on the communications being used by terrorists in the region. And so again, a very different experience on each of those deployments. It made things interesting, and I just had a great time doing it.
Great. So what skills would you say you developed during your time within the U.S. Marine Corps that have kind of helped you tackle the rigors within the full-time MBA program?
Sure. First, I would say that there's a lot of transferable skills that you gain in the military that can be used to enable your success in whatever you do. Things like your leadership, I already talked about, discipline, adaptability, your problem-solving ability. I think what I've employed the most thus far in the first part of this initial semester in the MBA program have been really my the teamwork ability and my work ethic. Work ethic, I think everyone in the program is working hard and trying to overcome the challenges of the academic rigors involved in the program. I know for me, I've been outside of my undergraduate education for over a decade, and I feel like there's a lot of rust that I'm breaking as I get back into the academic world. So the work ethic helps me overcome that, and the work ethic you develop in learning new jobs in the military and investing a lot of time up front to learn those skills is something that I've definitely employed in this program. From a teamwork ability, as you know, you spend a lot of your time working in teams to accomplish different projects and to learn from each other. And so very similar to the military, where you come together with very diverse groups of people with different backgrounds, different skill sets, and different personalities. That experience I have of having been on teams in the military and having led teams has really helped me to be a contributor to my team here in the MBA program.
Great. So what are your future career plans, or where do you expect the MBA to take you?
Sure. So to be honest, part of the reason I'm here in the full-time program is because I wasn't really exactly sure what I wanted to do as I transitioned from the Marine Corps. There's just a lot of things in the business world that really interest me. So I'm hoping that as I proceed through my studies and I complete an internship as part of the MBA program, that I'm going to narrow my focus. But for all the jobs that I'm looking at and interested in, I'm looking to be able to obviously employ the business analytic skills that I'm developing as part of the program here, as well as be able to leverage my the management experience and the technical skills I developed in the military. I think right now the jobs that most interest me are those where I can perform consulting-like work, whether that's performing internal consulting type roles, or actually consulting as part of a large consulting firm. I think the reason I gravitate towards that line of work is, as a Marine officer, you do a lot of consulting-like work, and I think because of that, I think I'd be well prepared or well suited for a career in consulting.
So Shaun, you're currently serving as part in the Army National Guard. Can you kind of describe what that entails?
Sure. So I when I joined into the military, I was able to branch into, there's a couple of groups. There's the Federal Active Army or the Federal Military that's what everyone thinks of when they see the military. And then of course they have their reserves, and then each state has its own military force. And so I work for the state of Utah. The governor is my boss. And both the reserves and the National Guard that works for the state, both the reserves that works for the Federal Army and the National Guard get to do a 90% civilian job and then a 10% military career. And so you get to follow your same career as you would if you were all the time active military, but you only have to do a commitment that's 1 weekend a month and then 2 to 3 weeks a year of specific training activities. And then of course you're always on call if a natural disaster here in the state happens, a fire, a flood, or some sort of a riot. Then the green suits that you see, those soldiers, that's me and my soldiers probably helping out. Or of course if another war breaks out and they need the state militias to come supplement the active army, then we get called away to do that as well.
So what are some ways that your experience in the Army has prepared you for the MBA program?
Well, Devin actually really laid out how the Army in general does that. The Army is really good at a couple of things. One, it's really good at creating a vision and goals and plans. And for me in the MBA and in my career, being able to have that ability to create vision for subordinates, as well as to create a vision for myself and have a plan to follow with, has really been a key item. Another one is teamwork, just the diversity of who you deal with, and the ability to take people from various walks of life and bring them together, focus on one common goal, one common idea, and really build a solid team. I think the third thing that the military does really well is to then leverage both of those items by delegating out what it is that the vision requires to those subordinates, saying, here's the vision, here's our team, you guys come up with the best solution, and I will do everything I can as a manager, as an officer, to get you the resources you need so that we can accomplish this mission.
Great. So what are some of your career goals in attending the MBA program?
Well, funny enough, I want to do consulting, so that means...
Or we compete.
Yeah, we're going to compete a little bit, and it's going to be hard to go up against a soldier like this. So, but consulting is a good draw. Devin already talked a lot about what the military is like, and he already talked a lot about internal consulting as well as external consulting. Right now, my current job, I manage about 32 analysts, similar type of work as Devin has done, and I source the data that they bring to me. I try to create a strategy, which then I present to my higher boss, and that's similar to consulting. You take the data and the subordinates that you get to work with, and you create a strategy, and you bring that to them. And similar, like in a consulting situation, they're going to kick back. They're going to say, well, is that really the way it is? And you have to be able to support that, or else you get kicked back to start all over.
Sure. Great. Well, any advice for those with similar experience to yours in approaching the MBA program?
In general, with any advice, I would say really have an idea of where you want to be way farther down the line. If you know where you want to be in your end goal, then the BYU MBA program, and I'm sure any MBA program, has the ability to give you the skill set to get there. I fully believe that. That's why I applied to the program. That's why I'm here. That's why I chose BYU over any of the other schools. Is I feel that the community that Devin talked about and the skill set and the network will be able to help me get where I want to be 20 years from now. As far as the 2-year goal when I graduate, I also feel that it'll help me get into consulting. For military members entering the program, leverage your military skill. The number one thing you need to do is be able to take what you did in the military and put that into a company terms or into business terms, because there's huge similarities. Instead of calling myself an officer, I can just say I'm a manager. And people understand that immediately.
Great. Well, Devin and Shaun, thank you so much for being with us here today. And thank you for joining us for another episode of Marriott MBA Today.